and gentlemen, welcome President of the American Council of Engineering Companies Arizona, Justin Rice.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Justin Rice. I am the president of ACEC Arizona, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome you this morning. I suppose I should alter that statement just a bit to welcome those on the East Coast where it's almost afternoon. And so while this is the Arizona Conference on Roads and Streets, I'm very excited to welcome over 20 other states in this nation that are joining us for this conference today. While it's been difficult to convert an 1,800 person conference to something that's now virtual, it's very, very exciting to open up this world of opportunity to share these great ideas and knowledge with those all over the country. So thank you again for being here. So, what a year it's been. I can certainly say that engineering not only is an essential industry, but also an industry that is truly forged in fire. It has been absolutely incredible what engineers have been able to continue to do throughout some of the most difficult and challenging times, economically and emotionally. So kudos to you for those that are joining us today from the A&E industry, and of course, for our friends who also work in construction. This is a three-legged stool. Without all of us, we could not do this incredible job in which we build our communities, both big and small. So, what I wish for you today, and for the rest of our conference, is to take this opportunity to explore your horizons. I know this can be a little bit uncomfortable. In fact, Benjamin Franklin once said, "In this world, nothing is certain but death and taxes." And perhaps we could alter that statement just a bit and add change. There is certainly nothing certain in this world except for change, in addition to death and taxes. So let's try to embrace change. We're looking forward to seeing all of you again in person, back in Tucson, Arizona, which has been the home of this conference for 69 years. Looking forward to seeing you in 2021 in person, where we can reconnect and continue to build these friendships. But for now, let's continue to do that online. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our very first keynote speaker, which I'm very excited to have kicking off this conference, the absolute authority on change, Dr. Michelle Rosen.
Thank you so much, Justin, and thank you all at ACEC Arizona for having me today. I'm so excited to join all of you. And what could be more relevant than for all of us to talk today about the power of change and managing change, and how relevant is it today more than ever? And that's what I would like to talk to all of you about today. And before we start, I want to take you on a little journey into the day that turned my life around. And back then,
I'm so excited to introduce you to our speaker today, Dr. Michelle Rosen. If you've ever wanted to get the master key for leading change with confidence in every area of your life, get ready. You're about to learn how to do it. Dr. Rosen is the author of 3 books. She also writes for the Huffington Post and has been featured in the New York Times. She's a frequent guest expert on NBC, ABC, Fox News, CNN, and many more media outlets on issues related to motivation, personal and professional growth, and managing change in our lives so that we can all do better, feel better, and become better in every possible way. Dr. Rosen is one of the most booked speakers on leading change, tapped by leading brands from Merrill Lynch to Johnson & Johnson, the U.S. Navy to AT&T to teach the science of change. She's New York City based and holds a PhD in psychology. So sit up, lean in, and get ready to learn the science of change that will turn your life around as a team, as leaders, and as individuals. Let's all welcome Dr. Michelle Rosen.
talk about change. I want to give you today the most powerful tools for managing change in terms of initiating change and in terms of dealing with whatever is on your plate today. And I want to invite you into a journey into my life and share all the insights that I've had over the years about the power of managing change. And you know, to me, change, it's a big word, but when we talk about change, we talk about managing life. So I want to talk today about the tools to manage whatever hurts you, whatever doesn't work for you, wherever in your life you feel stuck. That's what I want to talk to you about today. And that's why we'll spend some time together. And so to talk about that, I'm going to take you first to the day that turned my life around. And you know, back then, I mean, talk about change, right? I mean, let's put it out there. Look at the hairdo. There was some change going on there. But back then I worked at a job that I really, really didn't like. And I didn't like my day to day. And I used to tell my husband that I feel like I'm wearing shoes that are 2 sizes too small every single day. I had a friend that I used to meet every Saturday morning at 7 o'clock at the local Starbucks and talk about life, and the kids didn't wake up yet. I had very young kids. And I talked to her about how I feel. I said, you know, I feel very unhappy. I feel, you know, very frustrated. I don't like my day today. And she said, well, then go ahead and change it. And I said, yeah, well, you know, I don't know. My kids are too little. And Adam, my husband, he's in a startup. Maybe when the kids grow older and Adam's startup picks up, then I'll go back to school. And she looked at me. You know how sometimes someone looks at you like, have you lost your mind kind of look? So she looked at me and she said, you just don't get it, Michelle, do you? And I said, what? And she said, it will never be the right time for you. If you want to do something, do it now. And because I told her that I want to go back to school, she said, well, then go and do it now. Take the first step. And I did. And I went and I signed up. And there started these 10 years of unbelievable struggle, because very quickly after that, the economy collapsed and money got really, really tight. And it was very hard to keep up. I used to set up alarms for 3 o'clock in the morning, study from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning. 6 o'clock, I start my day as a working mom of 3 kids. And at some point, you think you make an effort like this and you're going to get some kind of a recognition, right? We always expect to get some kind of trophy. And at some point, a letter comes in the mail. And the letter says, dear Mrs. Rosen, you know, we just want to let you know that you've just earned your 3rd C, so you're in academic probation. And what are you going to do in a situation like this? Obviously, you're going to sit and cry. What else is there to do? So that's what I did. And I told Adam, my husband, I said, this is not making any sense. I really need to take a break or stop, or I'll come back later, because none of this is making any sense. Not financially, not technically. Look, I'm not even doing well. And Adam said, no, stay the course. Stay the course, because if you leave, you'll never come back. The day I graduated, I was the only one out of a group of 6 people. We always studied together. This is my family. They kept me so busy during this time. To this day, out of 6 people that always studied together in a study group, I'm the only one that graduated. And it made me think. It made me think long and hard about the power of the human mind to do things that seem impossible just because we want it really, really badly. I'm no better than anybody else. In fact, some of them were much better than me, but I wanted this. I wanted this really, really badly. And how lucky am I that I had this friend that pushed me to take the first step. Watch this. So I start my career and I managed to graduate. And back at the time, I worked in an office building in Manhattan with, tall riser, many, many floors, and there's an elevator. And then I noticed this. Watch this. Really? Think about it this way. People stand there by the elevator button and they hit the button and the elevator is not coming. So what do? They hit it again and again and again, and then with increased intensity just to get the same result. And I asked myself, I like to look at human behavior. I'm an observer. So I asked myself, why? Why? Why do we have a tendency in our brain to do the same things over and over and over again, and then with increased intensity when we know that it's not going to bring the elevator any faster? And then I asked myself, Michelle, where in your life do you do that? Where in your life do you stand there by the elevator button and you hit the button over and over again, repeat the same types of choices, the same kind of behaviors over and over and over again, just to get the same result? And the answer I gave myself was very concerning. I said to myself, in every single aspect of my life. And so what we'll talk today has to do with negating that. What we'll talk today has to do with the heart of change, which is how do we not do that? How do we not stand there by the elevator button, hit the button over and over again just to get the same result? How do we become so mindful that we can curb our brain from doing that? When I looked into why we do that, why do we tend to make the same choices over and over again? And they'd say, oh, I don't know why it happens to me. Why do I always have trouble with money? Why do I always have troubles with relationships? Why do I always get stuck with the most difficult people to work with? Why? And so this is what I found out. The brain takes about 20% of our energy just to get by. So for all of you to come here, maybe you got up in the morning, you did some social media, you read the news or not, you read something related to work, answered some emails, did your day-to-day chores, and came here and sat with me. That's 20% of your energy just to do the known, just to do the familiar. Now, every time you ask the brain to do something different, to adopt a different habit, to do something that is not more of the same, it's a lot of work for the brain. You're basically asking your brain to spend more than the 20%. And the brain doesn't like that. The brain says, come on, leave me alone. I'm perfectly happy being on the 20%. And as leaders, as team members, every time you ask your team members to adopt new habits, new technologies, new regulations, new leadership, you're asking them to spend more than 20%, which basically means that you are asking them to work against their own brain. And so I will teach you today how to do that, how to curb the brain's tendency to stay on the 20%, because the brain will always pull you towards the 20%, towards the known and familiar. And so if you listen to my story, you'll see that there were at least two people, just in this short story alone, that I really needed in order to make the change in my life. It was my husband, Adam, that encouraged me to stay on track, and my friend that encouraged me to take the first step. And so in order to succeed, you'll agree with me that we really need other people. The problem is that a lot of times we cause other people to work against us rather than with us towards our goals, even though we know that we really need help and support in order to create a change. And so I'll teach you today how to cause other people, how to make them work with you rather than against you towards your goals. And I want to share a story with you. This is a picture that I used to hide for a while. I mean, guys, excuse me for a minute. Ladies, if you ever go on an overnight flight and you tell yourselves, I don't have to put my makeup on, what can possibly happen? Learn from my mistakes, all right? Okay, so just wanted to put it out there. So I was actually hiding this picture for quite a while, for over a year, and then I said, I'll just share it. So the story is that this is obviously me without makeup, and this is my husband, Adam, and this is Bill Clinton. So one day, Adam and I are sitting on a flight going from Vegas to New York, and I was really tired. I really wanted to just get to the shower, get to bed. And I see that the whole plane at the end of the flight is sitting like this with their phones. So I asked Adam, what's going on? What's happening? And Adam said, Bill Clinton's on the flight. Now, moment of disclosure, I don't care for famous people. Adam does. So the flight ends, everybody leaves, everybody goes on their merry way. Not my husband. No. My husband runs after Bill Clinton at the airport and yells, Mr. Clinton, Mr. Clinton. Well, sure enough, Bill Clinton stops and then starts this 3-minute conversation with Adam where he is standing there with his hand on his shoulder pre-coronavirus and completely into the conversation. No reason at all. He doesn't know him. Let's put politics aside for a second. He had no reason to invest those 3 minutes in Adam. And at the beginning of the conversation, Adam said, Mr. Clinton, my name is Adam Rosen. This is my wife, Michelle. And he talks to him. At the end of the 3 minutes, Adam asks Bill Clinton, can we take a selfie with you? And Bill Clinton says, of course, remembers my name from 3 minutes ago. He's after an overnight flight too. Calls me, get in the picture, Michelle. And then we took that picture. So it made me kind of wonder. I look at people, I look at behaviors, and I ask myself, how many times do we neglect to give our undivided attention to people just because we're not focused? Every little kitten wants to feel like a lion. Everybody wants to feel that they matter. And I'm not saying anybody that knocks on your office door when you're back at the office or gives you a call now, when you're virtual, you're going to say, hey, let me just give you my undivided attention because I got nothing better to do. So we're just going to be here and I'm going to give you all my time and nothing will get done because Michelle said so. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying in a strategic way, in order to empower other people and get them on board. How many times do we forget to pay attention to important information, to be completely in the present? And instead of that, we run around doing 100 things. We forget that with our kids. We forget that with our spouses. We forget that with our parents and our mothers and fathers-in-law. And we forget that just as much with our team members and sometimes with our clients. Give people your undivided attention. It makes them feel that they matter. And when they feel that they matter, when you make a little kitten feel like a lion, they would do anything for you because everybody wants to be loved and validated and recognized and feel that they matter in this world. I don't know if anybody here likes money. I kind of assume that most of you do. But did you know that every time you give someone a genuine compliment, you trigger the same area in their brain as receiving cash? That means that every day you leave your home with stacks of hundreds to give out to people, and nothing will be lacking in your checking account, and you just give them out, hundreds. If I came to your next conference just to say hi from 2020, and I said, hey, listen, everyone, remember me from the 2020 ACEC Arizona virtual conference? I am going to stand here in the corner of this room, and whoever comes and says hi to me, I'm going to give you 100. Will I be popular? I will definitely be popular. You will all come and say hi to me. Why? Because I will be known as the girl that goes around giving hundreds. When I say a genuine compliment, I don't mean I like your sweater. That means nothing to me. When I say a genuine compliment, I mean, Michelle, I saw the work that you did with that client. Let's get back to the slide with the hundreds, just we can all keep that image in mind. Michelle, I saw the work that you did with that client, and I thought that was amazing. You did an amazing job on that project. Boom, you just gave me $100. You triggered that area in my brain. And when you do that, I will come find you and I will do work with you and I will make an effort for you. And it costs you nothing. And so you ask yourself, did I give someone $100 today? Did I give someone a genuine compliment today? Because the brain tends to focus on the negative, but you want to focus the brain on good things that you are going to recognize other people and then verbalize it to them. And so I asked myself, can we accomplish anything that we want? And I came upon this story that I love with Warren Buffett, such an interesting character. And the story is that Warren Buffett had a pilot that worked for him that was really, really struggling financially. Now, you struggle financially, you work for a guy like Warren Buffett, you might want to go and ask for advice. And the pilot comes to Warren Buffett and he says, Mr. Buffett, I'm really, really struggling financially. I'm so stuck. I don't know what to do. Do you have any advice for me? And Warren Buffett said, well, do you have any goals? And the pilot said, wow, I have so many goals. I have all these great ideas, all these great things that I want to do. I really want to accomplish so much, but nothing works for me. And Warren Buffett said, well, okay, why don't you go and write down all of your goals on a piece of paper and bring it to work tomorrow? So the pilot does that, and he goes and he writes down all of his goals on a piece of paper, and he shows it to Warren Buffett the next day. And Warren Buffett looks at it and he says, wow, that's really, that's very impressive. Now I want you to go home, and I want you to divide your goals into 2 columns. On the left column, I want you to write down your 3 most important goals. And on the right column, I want you to write down the rest of them. So the pilot says, well, that's easy enough. I can do that. That's not such a big deal. So he goes home and he divides his goals into 2 columns. And on the left side, he writes the 3 most important ones. On the right side, he writes down the rest of them, shows it to Warren Buffett the next day. And Warren Buffett looks at it and he says, well, okay, that's really interesting. You've got some great things here. So what are you going to do now? And the pilot said, well, Mr. Buffett, I will work so hard on those 3 goals. I'll do whatever I can to succeed. And Warren Buffett said, and what about the rest of them? What about the ones on the right column? And the pilot said, well, Mr. Buffett, whenever I get some extra time, I will push those forward too, so that I can make some progress and move things forward. And Warren Buffett said, no. That is not how you do it. From now on, whatever's on your right column just became your do not do goals. Those are your distractions. You will only focus on your most important goals. And so Oprah calls that laser focus. It's when you choose something that matters to you very, very much, and you hone down on it, and you say, no matter what, I will make this happen. And so I ask myself sometimes, are we not motivated enough? Or are we not clear enough on what matters to us the most? Are we running around, spending major time on minor things and missing the picture of what we want the most? And so I came up with a 0 to 10 rule, which is basically a rule that helps you fine-tune how much something matters to you. And so, for example, if you ask me right now, I, for example, have a big issue with going to the gym when the gyms were still open here. So, if you ask me, and now it's just working out in general. So if you ask me, Michelle, how important is it for you to make it to the gym or to work out? And I would tell you, you know me by now. You've seen me without makeup. You've seen my bad hairdo from 12 years ago. So I got to tell you, I'm at a 5 or a 6. And then if you ask me, Michelle, how much does it matter to you to finish your next book? And I would tell you, are you kidding me? 0 out of 10? I'm at 100. That's how it works. That's why I am not getting to the gym as often as I Should, because it doesn't matter to me as much. So the question is, what do we then do? And I came upon this really interesting research from Rutgers University. And the research basically looked at 3 groups when it comes to going to the gym, a subject so close to my heart. And so all of the groups pledged to go to the gym more often. Worthy cause. The first group only had 38 38% success rate. Pretty close. Only 38% success rate because they just pledged to go to the gym more often. It's not very impressive. The second group had an even lower success rate, even though they were also shown a motivational clip. Why? I don't know. But the truth of the matter is that seeing something motivational, it makes you feel warm, it makes you feel fuzzy, you feel motivated for a minute, but it's not what creates change in behavior. So the question is, what is it with the third group that brought to 91% success rate? What did they do differently that created the change? And the truth of the matter is that what the third group did was that they didn't just pledge to change, they curbed their brain's tendency to go back to the known and familiar. And so they got really specific. What do you mean you're going to go to the gym more often? How often are you going to go to the gym? On what days? From what time to what time? What's your backup plan if you can't go? Because if you don't do that, the brain will pull you towards the known and familiar. And so if your known and familiar is not going, it's just going to go there. And so you're stuck in cycles, stuck in cycles. So what we learn from that is that the more we curb our brain, the more specific and concrete and visual we are in terms of how exactly are we going to do things differently, the more successful we become. And so I talk to a lot of organizations, a lot of companies about change, and we establish all of that, but then people come to me and they say, oh, Michelle, this all would have worked if it wasn't for the people that I work with. You don't know who I'm working with. You don't even understand how difficult those people are. Everything would have been amazing if it wasn't for them. And so I want to talk to you about that. I want to remove that obstacle out of the way. Let's talk about, what do you do when you feel that you're stuck because people around you are so difficult? And here's the thing. Your brain plays about 52 different tricks. It's called cognitive biases. 52 different tricks on you in the way you perceive reality, in the way you perceive yourself, and in the way you perceive others. So even when you're dealing with difficult people and you're looking to break through, you are working against your own brain. And I will show you 2 ways today in which the brain plays tricks on you and how you perceive reality and how you can break out of that. And so the first way is called the information gap. And the information gap basically means that, listen, I know a whole lot about myself. I know why I do what I do and what my circumstances are and how difficult things are for me and how much I overcome obstacles and everything that is going on. But I know very little about other people. Now, the brain doesn't like not to know stuff. If John didn't smile at me this morning and his email seemed kind of unpleasant, I don't know why John does what he does. I don't know why his email sounded the way it is. I don't know why he didn't say good morning to me this morning. And my brain doesn't like not to know. So you know what my brain is going to do? My brain is just going to make up stuff. So I'm just going to make up stuff. I'm going to say, oh, I know why John didn't smile at me this morning. John didn't smile at me, and he sent me that borderline email because he doesn't accept my authority. Ever since I got this position, he's up to get me. He wanted Julie to get that position. I know it. I know it for a fact. And then I just made up this whole thing in my mind. None of it is true. Think of it like a cartoon, right? I got bubbles above people's heads. I just made up a whole story. And the scariest part is that based on that story, I'm going to take real life actions. I may do something or say something or make a certain choice just because I made up the story in my mind. And so the way to curb that is that you always ask yourself, how do I know? Guys, you are all going around, and myself included, and we all make up stories about other people. And we take actions and decisions as a result. We are all a bunch of people making up stories. But if you ask yourself, how do I know? Then you curb your brain's tendency to do that. And you realize that you don't really know. And so that's how you give other people the benefit of the doubt. Another way in which the brain plays tricks on you is called the validation gap. So other than the fact that I make up stories about other people in my mind, I also really love it when people agree with me. It's such a validating feeling. And so if I have a certain opinion of John, and some people agree with me, but a lot of other people think that, I could do much better myself. It's not only John's fault. There are also things I should change. I don't want all of that. It's so much work. It's so much beyond the 20%. I'm just going to block all these people out. And I will only focus on whoever agrees with me. It's easy. And I feel validated. So I don't have to change anything. So I can just stay on my 20% and feel that I'm just and right. And I'm kind of stuck with John. And so you have to check yourself and say, really, the fact that these people agree with me, how do I know that there aren't a whole lot of other people that think that I should change things on my end as well? And so I will let you in on a secret. There are no difficult people. There is no such thing. People come to me and they say, oh, can you change someone else? Can you change the other person? And the answer is, bad news, no, absolutely not. Good news, you can't change other people, but you can change your dynamics with the other person. And here's even better news. You have 50% control over that dynamics. If I change the way I perceive you, if I change the way I act towards you, if I change my choices with you, the dynamics will change at 50%. That is so much power that you have in your hands. And so if you look at your life, after the time that we spent together today, you look at your team, you look at the people in your personal life, and you say, who am I struggling with? Do I even comprehend that I can change the dynamics with that person at any given time? And that 50% of that power is in my hands. You will never feel stuck again. And so I want to give you a tool that will help you, especially through these times. It's called the 20-minute rule. And these times, what happens at times of rapid changes, extreme changes, as we are experiencing right now, is that everything becomes more extreme. And so if you would have been a little edgy, now you're very edgy, and everybody's very edgy these days. And it's very easy to get very impulsive when you are edgy. And so I'll give you a tool that will help you. It's called the 20-minute rule. And the 20-minute rule basically means that, think of it this way. If you had a hot pot on your stove right now, and you went and you touched it with your bare hands, what is going to happen to you? You're going to burn your hands, right? But if you go and touch, you turn off the stove, you go and touch the same pot 20 minutes later, what is going to happen to you? Nothing. Nothing. You won't get burned. Same things with people and interactions. You see, in our mind, we have two very important parts of the brain. One is called the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain where we are smart and we strategize and we take good decisions. And then, unfortunately, also in the back of our mind, in the limbic system, we have a part of the brain that is called the amygdala that is in charge of impulsive behavior. So when we are edgy, when we are tired, when we feel that we are burned out from work and kids and working from home and everything that is on our plate right now, it's very likely to experience what we call amygdala hijack, which means that the irresponsible part of the brain, the amygdala, is in control. And then you take very impulsive decisions. So if you feel that you are very upset, very angry, fume is coming out of your ears, your cheeks are flared, you're upset, wait 20 minutes before you say anything, you do anything, because that's about the amount of time that it takes for the irresponsible driver of your life, the amygdala, to calm down, get off the driver's seat, and for the prefrontal cortex, where we strategize and understand that we want other people to work with us rather than against us towards our goals. That part of the brain that makes you ask, what am I accomplishing by doing that? What's the purpose? You calm down and you strategize. It takes about 20 minutes for the prefrontal cortex to take the driver's seat. I travel a lot. I'll share this with you. And I traveled a lot before the pandemic. And I have an old Shih Tzu. She's 10 years old. Her name is Scuba. And my mom called me a while ago and she said, Michelle, I was watching this documentary and it scaled all the dog breeds on a scale of 1 to 70 in terms of intelligence. And I'm calling to let you know that Shih Tzus are on the 70th place in terms of intelligence. Calling to let me know. So I said, I know, Mom. I live with her. I love her. She's adorable. She's a fluff ball, but I know she's on the 70th place. So not a lot of prefrontal cortex there. And when I travel and I come home, she runs to me and she's jumping and she's so excited, when the kids say, oh, Mom, she loves you so much. Scuba loves you so much. And I say to myself, oh my gosh, they forgot to feed her again. I guess her food bowl is empty and her water bowl is empty too. And sure enough, I go there, food bowl empty, water bowl empty. So she depends on me for survival. I'm her mommy. I take her to the groomers. I take her to the vet. I fill up those water bowl and food bowls, right? But if I step on her tail, she is going to bite me. It's not that she's going to say, oh, I really shouldn't bite Mommy. Mommy feeds me. Mommy takes care of me. I really should, how about even if she stepped on my tail, I'm just going to take myself and no. There is no prefrontal cortex there. There is no strategizing. She is going to bite me. And so I ask myself, how many times? How many times do we hurt the people that we need the most for our success in the workplace and in our private life just because of impulsive behavior? And I started calling that scuba moments. How do we not have scuba moments? How do we use the 20-minute rule and avoid those scuba moments where we hurt the people that we need the most for our success? And so I asked myself if it really how much it matters, how inspired we are, and what can we do differently in order to live a better life? Watch this.
There's one thing I want you to do for me.
What?
Come here.
What?
Win. Win.
See those little black boxes? They're called telephones. I'm gonna let you on a little secret about these telephones. They're not gonna dial themselves, okay? Without you, they're just worthless hunks of plastic.
That's the number one thing you have to do, is to work on yourself and to fill yourself up and keep your cup full.
As someone who's done what you're about to go and do, I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
Your son got shot in the face, that's difficult. Making a movie is a luxury. It's a gift. It's an opportunity, and most importantly, it's a gift. Obviously, everybody here is talented enough to do that, but don't get it twisted. It's just a movie. It ain't that big a deal.
crowned champions of the world. What do you expect me to do? Talk,
Find your vision and follow it. You see, I think it's the most important thing that we have a very clear vision of where we go, a goal, where do we go? Because you can have the best ship in the world, you can have the best cruise liner, but if the captain does not know where to go, that ship will drift around the world and out there at sea and will never end up anywhere.
I think the most important thing we've learned as we've grown is that we have to prioritize. Only do the very best of the ideas. Lots of times you have very good ideas, but they're not as good as the most important thing you could be doing. And you have to make the hard choices.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right? You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period.
ACEC Arizona, I believe in the power of the human mind to do amazing things. These times are not just about challenge. These times are also an opportunity for all of us to be mindful and look at the extreme situations so that we can learn how to do things better, better as leaders, better as team members, and better as individuals. Let the rest of the world stand there and hit the elevator button over and over again just to get the same result. Not us, not you. Let's go there and do amazing things. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rosen. I know I walked away with a lot of tips, especially about difficult people. And I'm sure some people learned some important tips about dealing with me too. So thank you again for that wonderful presentation on hitting the change button and how do we manage change, especially in this crazy world right now. So I do have some questions for you that have come through the chat box and the platform. So I'd love to get those started. Before we begin, I would just like to let the audience know that you are more than welcome to ask Dr. Rosen anything that you would like to know about geriatric animals or their behavior or anything related to change, whether that's in your home or in your office. So while you guys get your brains going and get those fingers typing, I've got a couple questions right here ready to go. So I'm going to kick it off. Dr. Rosen, first question I have for you. What tips do you have for picking which goals are more important? Are there any tricks for prioritizing?
I think it's such an important thing for all of us to remember how important prioritizing is. How many times do we go through a day and we feel that we were so busy, and then we ask ourselves at the end of the day, busy doing what? What did I really focus on what matters the most? And the 0 to 10 rule is so important in defining priorities that I've seen it used in team meetings for teams to hone down on what matters the most at the current moment. And I've seen individuals using it as well. One of the things that we're seeing through the pandemic is that people got really worn out and tired. There is a general sense of fatigue. And especially if there's a challenge in prioritizing every day in regular times, we all struggle more these days. And so use the 0 to 10 rule to look at your day and say, okay, I have 10 things to do today, whether as a team or as an individual. I have all these things that need to get done. This is a 6, this is a 7, this is a 2, this is a 10. What am I focusing my attention on? And the problem is that a lot of times we don't have these sit downs with ourselves. And so the day sort of mushes away and we run around and accomplish very little. That's not what we want to do. We want to become more intentional. And the 0 to 10 rule really helps with that.
Great. Thank you so much. I have another question here for you. What can leaders do with team members who resist change? I'm sure that only happens in one office.
Only happens to one person. Everybody resists change to one extent or another. Change is extremely challenging. And change is, it's very easy to say, oh, change is an opportunity. Let's all embrace it. This is such a great, it's so difficult because we are so bombarded with so many things that we need to handle. So the brain can only handle this much. And so because the brain tends to go back to the 20%, in order to encourage our team members to go beyond the 20%, what we want to do is we want to recognize when they do something different, recognize and empower them. And a lot of times I have to tell you, I go speak to leadership teams and I ask, a room or whatever the size is, full of leaders. I say, give me an example of a genuine compliment or something empowering that you've done for a team member this past week. And I get a room full of people going, let me think. It doesn't come so easy. So just train yourselves to empower everyone around you, help everyone around you get better. As leaders, it's the best service that you can give to others through these times. If you empower other people, they will have the length of breath to go beyond the 20% for you.
Thank you so much. Obviously, we have a lot of leaders here in the audience. How can leaders help their teams deal with uncertainty?
Uncertainty is something that the brain really does not like. And so we get very anxious because we don't know what to expect. If you look at the way I described, the brain makes up stories about other people. It's another form of the brain not liking uncertainty. We don't like not knowing. And so what happens to your teams as they are navigating through uncertainty, the team members get really, really anxious. When the anxiety level goes up, the performance goes down. So if you were to define a leader's main goal is top performance for the team, that means that the leader's goal is to help the team members reduce anxiety. You do that by being as clear as possible with the team members as far as what are the expectations, what are the guidelines, what are the roles, what are the rules, what do I want from you so that you can do amazingly well and succeed because I want you to succeed. A lot of times leaders fall into the trap of not being clear enough. They think that they're clear, but they're not really clear. So break everything down into small particles, step by step, so that your team members, the people under you and the people around you are super clear on everything. By that, you are helping them reduce the anxiety level and you're helping them succeed by that, bringing performance up.
Thank you. So to piggyback on that question, I have another great question. And as a leader, how can I be a solid communicator, a clear communicator to my employees?
Being a solid communicator has to do with clarity. And clarity is the most important goal for every leader these days. So there is a large body of research that shows the discrepancy between how clear leaders think they are and how their team members perceive them. And so one of the questions that I'm asked sometimes is, how can I be clear with my team and be a good communicator with my team when sometimes I myself as a leader, I don't know, I'm not clear. And so my advice to leaders would be, if you are not clear yourself as far as what is expected or why it is expected, before you talk to anybody else, go get that clarity for yourself. And sometimes you just need to take a piece of paper and write down in a sentence or two so that you can make sure that everything is clear for you before you communicate it to others. A lot of times, our mind is cluttered, and so we run around giving information to other people, and everybody gets confused. Clarity is your best ally through these times. Make sure you fully understand everything. And if you don't fully understand, or you are not 100% clear, just be vulnerable and honest and say, I don't know. Let me get that clarity, and make sure to invest the time in clarity.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think this is very relevant to where we're sitting right now with COVID-19. And I think this addresses everybody's some of their experiences, but I think particularly with leaders when we're trying to motivate our group. But how do you deal with feeling tired and down during these times?
To one extent or another, it's something that everybody is dealing with. And so the rule of thumb is that you have to do a good job, first of all, in taking care of yourself. You can't keep going, because our brain is way past the 20% through the pandemic. We are all experiencing great difficulty. There has been too much change for all of us to process. The mind cannot grasp. And so what you need to do is you need to pull out of your day, dedicate 20 minutes, half an hour, 15 minutes, whatever you can for self-care. And self-care can mean that you go and meditate. Self-care means you can go for a walk. Self-care can mean that you rest or you read, but strategically put a time in your day for the brain to sort of rest and go on numb mode, even if it's the middle of the day, so that you can come back and you can be sharp. Because when you operate out of fatigue, this is when the amygdala kicks in. This is where you're going to get impatient with other people. All those things are preventable if you take care of yourself, knowing that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. We all have to take care of ourselves, and also be kind to others, because that also gives other people the length of breath to feel better and do better through these challenging times.
Thank you so much. These questions are really rolling. This looks really good. So here's another question. If you can't quite get that clarity or that numb brain time, and this happens, what do you do? What is the best way to handle mistakes or mess ups as a leader?
Mistakes happen always. And so in a way, we expect them not to happen. We want everything to go the way we want it to go. But if you think about it, mistakes always happen. And so we always take a proactive approach. There's a tendency of the brain, the tendency of our mind to be very judgmental of the other person when they make a mistake. Why? Because it relieves us from responsibility. So if you made a mistake and I judge you for it, it's a quick fix for me, and I don't have to worry about it too much because I'm blaming you. Same thing with my kid, same thing with my spouse, same thing with my mother-in-law, okay? But if you take a proactive approach, completely non-judgmental proactive approach, and you say, hey, mistakes happen, the only thing I want to understand is I want to understand how to make it better next time. I don't care. You made a mistake, I made a mistake. We're so busy judging other people, blaming other people, thinking who is to blame? I'm to blame, so I'm going to defend myself. The other person's to blame. It's a waste of time. We look at mistakes as a minefield of things that we can look at. There are also good things in mistakes because we learn from them, we grow from them, and we do better. Only if we neutralize the whole blame and judgment piece of it, because it's really not productive. What we want is to figure out how to do things better going forward.
That's some really great advice. Thank you very much. I think we have time for one more question. I think this is going to be a really good one to end on. So that question is, sorry, I gotta go through my list here. Let me see. Where did it go? Do you feel that it's best to implement change immediately or gradually? How do you think people best accept change and kind of move along with it?
The way we implement change is actually not as important. So sometimes leaders spend a lot of time thinking, should we go step by step in terms of they have an end result that they're working towards. And so the leadership teams think, how do we implement that? Should we go gradually or all at once? And the same thing in our personal lives as well. That's not the key for success in implementing change. The key for success is clarity. So the clearer you are with yourself when it comes to your own change, in terms of what are you going to do differently in order to get a different result, the clearer you are with your team as far as what exactly is expected of them, the more you curb everyone's brain and sort of force the brain to adopt a new way of doing things. So don't worry about doing things at once. Don't worry about doing things over time. That's not the issue. The issue is, are you clear enough with yourself, with your team, in order to curb the brain's tendency to go back to the known and familiar? The clearer you are, the more specific you are. Remember that third group in the Rutgers research, the third group that had 91% success rate. That's the group that you want to be in. Remember what they did. They got really, really specific and really, really clear. That is the key for success.
Thank you so much. I think that's really great. So Dr. Rosen, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I know that the advice that you've provided to all of us has just been invaluable, particularly in a time, not just COVID, but 2020, because what a year. It's been quite a ride, and what a long, strange trip it's been. So thank you so much. I know I felt so very fortunate when I discovered you in my research, trying to find a speaker that could really address a lot of the questions that our industry, and I mean, really the entire nation, the entire world is having right now. And just what you were able to provide for us today is just something I know that we will walk away with and begin implementing with our staff and in our households immediately. So I really can't thank you enough for being here and providing this very sound, very useful, very timely advice.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you. We'd love to have you back.
Thank you.
So thank you all for joining us this morning for our kickoff keynote for the 2020 virtual conference on roads and streets, the first of its kind, of course. I just wanted to let you know that we have over 1,200 attendees joining us today, and we couldn't be more excited to see those numbers. So thank you all, 1,200 of you, for joining us this morning for one fantastic conference. Of course, Amerigo Burdesky and I are at the ready should you require any assistance throughout this conference. And please be sure to send us a message through chat as well. We would love to hear your comments, your impressions of this brand new event, this brand new adventure. And again, thank you so much for supporting ACEC Arizona. And you have a fantastic day out there. Thanks so much. We'll see you online.